In 2024, a renovation crew at Graceland discovered something extraordinary behind a false panel in Elvis's private study, a locked metal box containing over 200 letters exchanged between Elvis and Priscilla during a period historians thought they had barely communicated. These weren't ordinary love letters. They revealed a secret pact, clandestine meetings, and a decision that would change both their lives forever. This is the story those letters tell, a story that remained hidden for over 50 years. The construction worker's crowbar hit something solid behind the walnut paneling. Marcus Chun had been renovating the third-floor study at Graceland for 2 weeks, but this was unexpected. As the panel came away, a small alcove revealed itself, and inside sat a dented metal box with a combination lock that had long since rusted open. Inside, wrapped in faded blue ribbon, were stacks of letters on yellowed paper. The handwriting was unmistakable to anyone familiar with Elvis Presley's bold, looping script. But it was the dates that made Marcus's hands tremble. 1966 to 1967, a period when official biographies claimed Elvis and Priscilla had limited contact due to his demanding film schedule and her schooling in Memphis. The Presley estate was immediately notified. Within hours, archivists wearing white gloves carefully examined each letter. What they found contradicted decades of accepted history. These weren't just love letters. They were detailed accounts of secret meetings, philosophical discussions about fame and freedom, and most shockingly, a mutual agreement to hide the true depth of their relationship from the public, and even from Elvis's inner circle. The first letter, dated January 10th, 1966, began with Elvis writing about feeling trapped by his own success. He described sneaking away from film sets, using decoy cars, and meeting Priscilla at obscure locations across Southern California. They developed an elaborate system of coded messages delivered through a trusted intermediary, a postal worker in Memphis who had no idea of the contents. Significance. Priscilla's responses were equally revealing. She wrote about the suffocating expectations placed upon her, the constant surveillance by Elvis's management team, and her desperate need for authentic connection. In one particularly poignant letter from March 1966, she described feeling like a beautiful bird in a golden cage, singing for an audience that only wants to hear one song. The letters revealed a pattern of clandestine rendezvous that would have scandalized 1960s America. Elvis and Priscilla had orchestrated at least 15 secret meetings during 1966 alone, each planned with military precision. Elvis would tell his manager he was scouting locations or visiting friends, while Priscilla would claim school activities or shopping trips with approved chaperones. Their favorite meeting spot was a small cabin in Topanga Canyon, owned by a documentary filmmaker who owed Elvis a favor. The filmmaker would leave the key under a specific rock, and the couple would have 6 or 7 hours of complete privacy, something nearly impossible in their public lives. In these stolen moments, they weren't the king and his girlfriend. They were simply two young people trying to understand themselves and each other. One letter from Elvis, dated June 1966, described bringing his guitar to the cabin and playing music he'd never recorded, blues and gospel songs that his film contracts wouldn't allow. He wrote about feeling most himself in those moments, away from the cameras and the crowds. Priscilla, in her response, mentioned how she'd see glimpses of the man beneath the legend, someone vulnerable and searching for meaning beyond fame. The letters also revealed tensions neither publicly acknowledged. Priscilla wrote candidly about feeling isolated from her own generation, missing normal teenage experiences, and wondering if their relationship could survive the pressure. Elvis responded with surprising emotional maturity, acknowledging her sacrifices and expressing his own doubts about whether he deserved her patience. Most remarkably, they'd made a pact documented in a letter from August 1966. They would maintain public distance to protect Priscilla from media scrutiny until she turned 21. This explained the puzzling coolness in their public interactions during this period. It was theater, designed to shield her from the ruthless gossip machine that surrounded Elvis. The most explosive revelation came in letters from late 1966. Elvis and Priscilla had seriously considered eloping and leaving public life entirely. This wasn't teenage fantasy. They'd researched logistics, consulted a lawyer who specialized in entertainment contracts, and even identified a small town in New Mexico where they believed they could live anonymously. A November 1966 letter from Elvis laid out the plan in detail. He'd fulfill his current contractual obligations, then announce his retirement from entertainment. They'd sell Graceland, invest the proceeds conservatively, and disappear. He wrote about craving a normal life where he could walk down a street holding your hand without it becoming front-page news. Priscilla's response showed she'd taken the plan seriously, too. She'd researched teaching credentials and wrote about wanting to work with children. She described a life of simplicity, a small house, a garden, maybe a couple of dogs. No bodyguards, no photographers, no performances. Just two people building an ordinary life together for 3 months. According to the letters, this plan represented their shared dream. They spoke about it in coded language, even in their secret correspondence, referring to it as the Arizona Project, though New Mexico was the actual destination. Elvis had even purchased property there under a false name, a 20-acre ranch with a modest house, bought through intermediaries who had no idea who the real buyer was. But reality intervened in February 1967. Elvis's father, Vernon, discovered some of the planning documents and confronted his son. The conversation, described in a painful letter from Elvis dated February 18, 1967, lasted through the night. Vernon argued that Elvis had responsibilities to his family's financial security, to the employees who depended on him, to fans who found meaning in his music, and to the legacy he'd built. The final letters in the box, from March 1967, documented their agonizing decision to abandon the escape plan. Elvis wrote about feeling torn between love and duty, between the person he wanted to be and the person everyone needed him to be. His handwriting in these letters was noticeably more erratic, reflecting his emotional turmoil. Priscilla's response demonstrated remarkable maturity for a 21-year-old. She released him from their pact, writing that she wouldn't let him sacrifice everything he'd built, even if that sacrifice was what he thought he wanted. She suggested an alternative. They'd move forward with their relationship publicly, marry properly, and find ways to carve out private spaces within their public lives. This decision, the letters revealed, was why their marriage announcement in late 1967 seemed sudden to the press. It wasn't impulsive. It was the culmination of years of secret deliberation and a compromise between their dreams and their reality. They'd chosen the cage, but would work together to make it as comfortable as possible. The last letter in the box, dated April 1967, contained Elvis's promise to Priscilla. He vowed to protect spaces of normalcy within their extraordinary life. He promised honesty, partnership, and respect. He acknowledged that fame had costs, but pledged to ensure those costs didn't destroy what they had together. His final line read, "We may not get the anonymous life we imagined, but we'll build something real within the spotlight." There was also a note in Priscilla's handwriting, apparently added later, that simply said, "We tried. We really tried. And for a while, in that cabin in Topanga, we succeeded." These hidden letters reveal a side of Elvis and Priscilla's relationship never seen before. 2. Young people struggling against the machinery of fame, seeking authentic connection in an inauthentic world. They remind us that behind every icon is a human being with dreams that sometimes must be sacrificed. What secrets do you think still remain hidden at Graceland? Share your theories in the comments below, And don't forget to follow for more untold stories from music history.